Hello, this is simply about networking protocols, and today I'll tell you about data transfer basics in Ethernet. In this video, I'll tell you about meaning of packets processing and transmit, data traffic processing and transmit in simple words, configuration and control traffic processing in simple words, and traffic transmit basics. So imagine you have a configuration of the Ethernet devices that need to process some traffic, some packets or some frames, whatever. They contain multiple devices. But always remember that in each stage, in each moment of time, each operation happens only on one device basing on configuration of this device. So generally, we can imagine this topology or this configuration as a device where everything is happens with connections, and goal of the device processing is to accept frame basing on meaning, on values in fields of this frame, and basing on configuration of this device, perform some actions, make a decision should this frame be forwarded or not, and if should be forwarded, select an egress interface where it should be forwarded. Plus, prepare this frame to be processed on next devices, and by preparation I mean modify, add or remove some fields in this frame in the way that next device will process it. And we don't care right now about what next device is. So we're receiving frame and starting some protocol. Protocol is a system of rules that explains the correct conduct and procedures to be forwarded or followed in normal situation. And protocol in our case means we have some configuration of the device, we have some values in frame fields, comparing those frame fields with configuration and performing some actions based on the result. We deciding that, for example, frame should be forwarded, selecting egress interface and preparing this frame to be processed on next device by modifying fields, removing fields, adding fields, or combination of those actions. If frame should not be forwarded, then it should not be forwarded. It's okay. Protocol and set of rules and send of values or in fields of this frame. This is the basics of selecting of egress interface is frame needs to be forwarded, and basics for preparing this frame to be processed by next device. In case of data traffic processing, all the same. And so-called switching, routing, MPLS protocol for data switching, routing, or forwarding, or transmit, whatever it is used in your Ethernet devices or in your communication about Ethernet or your communication about protocols, is the set. For example, for switching, for this configuration, particular on this device, we will use destination MAC, source MAC, VLAN, sometimes Azure type, whatever. For routing, we will use Azure type to know that this is IP frame, protocol, data, and protocol means IP headers, IP information, L4 information like TCP ports, UDP ports, ICMP code, and so on and so forth. For MPLS, we will use label. Doesn't matter where label is because standard allows this label to be in the beginning of the frame or somewhere in the frame, whatever label. That is one of the incorporated values in the protocol. That means set of actions and verifications that device perform to detect from which port or ports to egress this frame, and how to prepare it to be processed on the next devices. Here, it means preparation that a frame will be prepared to be processed by next device personally for next device. But configuration and communication with neighboring or next devices is following. First, all configuration and all control traffic is used to modify configuration of our device. Okay, we informing neighbor devices about our configuration in order for them to modify this configuration, and we're receiving information from them in order to modify our configuration. And also administrator, manually or using some tools, can modify configuration of our device to perform those actions in the way that administrator needs or according to goals of the network where this device is placed. Mostly like that. So all control traffic, all the information that we send in, most of control traffic is not a dialogue, it's informative. So we are sending information and we're receiving information. Very rarely it will be a traffic or control protocol where information is exchanged in dialogue mode. But anyways, it is needed to modify our configuration basing on what neighbor devices are, what they need, and what they for. And this configuration is modified to correctly accept the frame and to prepare the frame, correctly prepare the frame to be processed on the next devices. And this is related to all communication between our particular device where, so this device is the stage of the data traffic processing in the Ethernet network where something happens with data traffic. And data traffic, again, basing on what I told before, data traffic is received and basing on current configuration processed, basing on the current values in the field of this data frame being somehow processed, and decision is made where to send it, should we send it, where to send it, and how this frame should look to be correctly processed by next device where we connect it to. And main data transfer rule is following. Border is on device, not on link. It means, for example, we're using switching configuration, switching protocol to transmit traffic between green devices. We're using routing protocol to transmit data traffic between purple devices. And we're using something else, for example, MPLS, to transmit traffic between blue devices. Ingress device, interface of ingress device needs to use same data transmit protocol that egress port, egress interface on the previous device. And this is also preparation means. It means that if our device is using MPLS to egress traffic, ingress interface on the next device should use MPLS to accept this traffic for processing. During the processing, something could happen, and we could change the transmission protocol. For example, if packet goes here in the direction from left to right, here we're receiving it by routing. We're processing this data traffic, modifying it to be processed by MPLS, sending by MPLS, receiving by MPLS on the next device, and processing there. And this rule is strict. Receiving port needs to be in the same or needs work in the same data transmit protocol as transmit port on previous device. But we can modify, or we can segment our network in the way we want and use data transmit protocols in the way we want until we follow in this rule. That's so simple. Thank you. Have a great day.